Alright, before we begin tonight's video, a post hoc forward. I originally wrote and then recorded this script well before the day of September 10th, 2025, before the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. Much of what I will say in this video still stands after that tragic event, but none of it in any way was influenced by it. The fact that some people are so eager to engage in political violence rather than civil discussion is the consequence of the problem discussed in this video, and I in no way endorse violence or calls to violence from the left, from the right, or from anyone else. Cooler heads must prevail if peace is to return. There are a lot of figures I barely, if any at all, named in this video, who I very much believe have blood on their hands. These figures I'll name now: Destiny, Bosch, Hassan Piker, Short Fat Otaku, CNN, MSNBC, John Oliver, Trevor Noah, and anyone else who called for violence against conservatives or used the term Nazi as a broad brush to justify those calls for violence. Note that their actions in no way excuses the actions of those I mentioned already in this video, and their own responsibility for creating this violent and extremist environment we now live in. Just as well, this also does not excuse certain figures on our side letting the emotions get the better of them and starting to use the same type of rhetoric against these people. The foot needs to be taken off the gas, and these people know who they are. Anyway, here's today's video. Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. You know, things seem rather bleak lately, and that isn't accidental. Everywhere you look is negativity. This thing is horrible. That thing is woke. That other thing is racist. Everything is satanic, Jewish, Russian propaganda. That sort of thing.
Big Bang to base. Under attack by commie Nazis.
It's exhausting when all you see is negativity all the time from every source, everywhere, no matter how petty the source is. It causes you to feel depressed, alone, isolated, and tired. I have made a video once before on the difference between criticism and A-logging. In that video, I outlined that not all criticism is created equal, and you need to identify the difference between good faith and bad faith criticism. Such as whenever a fanboy of a certain closet homosexual Hollywood director says anything about a certain director of a comic book movie, they probably shouldn't be considered a valid source. Yeah, trust me, this won't all be about Snyder. I'm just getting my homophobia I have towards this one man out of my system before I get to my main thesis. And that thesis is, there's a problem with media focusing on negativity as a brand. As the old saying goes, if it bleeds, it leads. And all it is sensationalism of negativity. For you see, dear viewer, there's a bit of psychology to all of this, and while I'm not Aiden Paladin, or even remotely close, I'll do my best. Now let's begin. The problem is quite simple. All there ever is bad news, and that's all the various media algorithms ever promote. From Google to YouTube, even newspapers and the mainstream media, and again, this is all on purpose. Bad news sells, plain and simple. People don't want to see headlines that read everything's fine, nor do they want to hear their friends or loved ones say that, hey, maybe those people we think are so bad aren't the second coming of Hitler, Stalin, Satan. It's just how our stupid lizard brains are programmed to work. Why? Again, I'm not a psychologist, but according to Grok, yeah, I know, shut up, just bear with me. From the response it gave me, it's evolutionary psychology. Maybe I should have referenced Dr. Gad Saad. Anyway, that's not important. What is important is that we are hardwired to always be on high alert, dating back to our early hunter-gatherer days. In fact, our brains are more conditioned to accept negativity than positivity for this reason. It's self-preservation. The thing is, though, we're no longer hunter-gatherers. Most modern humans don't even know where food comes from, thinking it comes from the store.
Bless this highly nutritious, microwavable macaroni and cheese dinner that the people sold it on sale. Amen.
So a lot of this hardwiring is a little bit obsolete. Not completely, but we are the apex predators now. Yet we're still coded to think that we're not, and that there's a saber-toothed tiger hiding behind every bush. And the thing is, there are a lot of people willing to take advantage of that fact to promote their own ends and their own ideals. The mainstream media was built by these kinds of people, and it isn't just them. In the new age of social media, everyone is the media, which means everyone is trying to neurostimulate those negative brain cells to get the latest trend or the latest this hashtag. To get more views on their videos like John Della Rose or Ethan Van Sciver, or even entire blogs, forums, and websites dedicated just to drama like Kino Casino or Pedo Farms, which I call it that because the owner is a pedophile, but moving on. Because of our brains being wired this way, it's constantly being inundated with all of this bad news and negativity and drama to the point it's actually causing detrimental mental health effects across the board. You may have heard of Trump derangement syndrome. When leftists get so worked up over President Donald Trump, it actually causes them to have severe panic attacks, mass hysteria, stress disorders, and depression, and how they're constantly seeking for the next really bad thing he's done. Well, as hilarious as it is that leftists are like that, they're sadly not the only ones. One could say that the fear of woke has also created a derangement syndrome in some people. Our Kotaku in action is proof of this in their bandwagoning against the game Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a bandwagon that proves to be more and more similar to the Hogwarts Legacy pro-trans boycott bandwagon harassment campaign every passing day. And there are many on quote-unquote our side willing to take advantage of this sentiment. John Della Rose is one of the more blatant ones. In fact, longtime viewers would know my very first published video was me and my friend Tracer Creek calling this out when it came to Star Wars Kenobi and the latest MCU movies. Back then, we called it critic culture, but a more accurate phrase would have been to call it the culture war industrial complex. And even when Tracer did his review of Kenobi alongside Top Gun Maverick, his own statement was that, and I'm paraphrasing, to call Kenobi woke would be a disservice to criticism, that it'd be just excusing its flaws for what they truly were. To put it quite simply, calling a work woke is just a thought-terminating cliche now. Now, does this mean we should excuse these bad works? Not at all. We just need to speak more honestly about what the problems truly are to cut to the heart of the issue, so to speak. But that isn't going to stop those peddling in culture war sensationalism and petty e-drama from doing what they do. After all, in the age of YouTube partnerships and monetized tweets, they are financially incentivized to do so. It is sort of like what I said in my anger addiction video, that these sorts of videos exist to make you angry and feel ganged up upon. It's like a drug, and sadly, we're all addicted. Which makes people like the Lucario lover who peddle this sort of stuff like drug dealers, and the only way you can deal with that is to just say no. Yeah, as cliche as it sounds, we don't need all this petty e-drama in our lives. We don't need to be inundated with bad news about comics, movies, video games, and media as much as we are. Heck, we don't even need social media. Mankind was better off without it. We went thousands of years without a Twitter or a Facebook, and I think we'd do just fine if we were to disappear tomorrow. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Nor is there ever going to be ethical standards for journalism practiced by people like John Della Rose or Ethan Van Sciver. Just as there weren't ethical standards for the Jason Schreiers and Nathan Graysons of 10 years ago who scoffed at such silly ideals when they were pulling this exact same grift on people on their own side of the aisle. So rather than sitting on our butts and waiting for people who always had malicious intents and bad faith to do the right thing, we need to do what we should have been doing all along: walking away. And no, I don't mean giving up the fight or ceding ground to the other side. I mean no longer engaging in the same culture war machine that's been driving both sides of extremism since the 60s. And it's not just us who need to do it, it's also our enemies, which requires acknowledging that a lot of people we think are so bad on the left are just as human as we are. It's why Christ instructed us to love our enemies and to forgive those who trespass against us. It's not a call to turn a blind eye, but to recognize your fellow man as a brother under the same creator, and to accept that maybe there are those who are being just as victimized by a system that seems to be working against us. Tyranny thrives on division, after all. We were always at war with East Asia. Unfortunately, it won't be easy, but if the fighting is to stop and things are to return to a more acceptable state, someone needs to be the first to put down the weapons and offer an olive branch. I got recommended a video not long before writing this script: the truth about the culture war and why it's dooming us. And I do agree with a lot of what this person has to say on the matter, hence why I recommend you go watch it, and I will link it in the description. But this isn't just a culture war video though. What I mean about walking away from the negative news calls for a full walk away. You don't need to watch the 24-hour news cycle either. In fact, Dave Rubin does, or at least I remember, an annual fasting period of 1 month where he doesn't partake in any news, and after the first time he's done it, he's realized how much more free he felt. This isn't a call not to be well informed, mind you, but not to get addicted to it. Not to let the negative news become your master. not to become a political extremist who lets the political news rule your life. And the only way we can do that is if we learn to trust one another, listen to each other, and have civil discussions, open up to one another, and be human beings again. The issue we have can be stemmed in modern people losing their common bond, which you can blame on secularism for sure. Even during the Enlightenment, when America was founded, people understood the power of commonality under a shared belief of a creator, and sadly, in modern times, that belief has been lost. But in order to restore that commonality, we need to be willing to make those connections, to build those bridges, to be the bigger man, and holy crap, Hideo Kojima was just proven right once again.
You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it!
Okay then, so maybe Death Stranding had a point to it besides being an Amazon delivery simulator. I probably should have expected this from the guy who wrote Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Anyway, if we are ever gonna see that positive change, it's up to us to be that positive change we want to be, and to learn to build those roads again, in spite of the murky tar of doubt, mistrust, and negativity. And I swear to God I wasn't trying to make this a video proving Death Stranding's thesis. But anyway, this has been the Koopa Man. If you like this video, leave a comment and let me know what you think. Are you tired of all the bad news constantly? Have you stopped caring about bad media in general? Did you resign to living under a rock? Let me know in the comments. Have a look on my channel library for more, and until next time, game on.